When you're ready, you may begin.
Right, this is my presentation for Introduction to Sports Coaching. I'm going to assess the determinants and the behaviours of an effective in coaching and the context of meeting the needs of young people. So these are the learning outcomes which I'm going to go through within the PowerPoint. So I'm going to try to learn outcome 1, demonstrate the determinants of an effective coach. Also learn outcome 2, present and evaluate within my coaching practices, so link everything into how I coach. And learn outcome 3, evaluate the needs of young people as they participate in sport. Right, before we start this, I'll do a quick brief with where I coach. I coach at Chesterfield Lawn Tennis Club. I coach mini tennis, so around 4 to about 10-year-olds, and yeah, just been coaching for about 3 to 4 years, and yeah, that's it. Right, first off I'm going to talk about learning outcome 1 and 2. So first thing is, what is coaching about? So again, I've got 2 kind of references there just to say what it's about, so I'm going to kind of explain a bit more. So kind of like what is coaching, it's kind of like really like coaching is kind of going in and explaining like skills, tactics, techniques to other people and how they can achieve their goals when you coach. So what is a coach? So I've just explained what coaching is. So a coach is kind of like to help people participate in sport, so help them trying to get into sport and kind of building up their confidence to participate really. Right, coaching philosophy. So a coaching philosophy is basically something where a coach kind of believes in a thing. So what they strive to teach their participants, and also kind of within a session or a match, that's what they really want their participants to achieve, like within the session or obviously by the end of the match. I've got like a quick example. So I've chose John Wood, and he's like a professional basketball coach. His coaching style is well, he's got like it's called the pyramid of success. So he's got like each of these boxes represent kind of the success of his coaching really and what he believes in. And like I said, each one of these boxes kind of work up to that success, and it makes him. And that's what he believes in, and also obviously that makes him and his participants kind of believe and work hard with every single match, and they've got to believe when they go out onto the basketball court, they have them things in their head and then they can strive to do better within the match. If he didn't have them, obviously he wouldn't be as successful as he was, and basically that's why philosophy is important really. It gives you more, it makes kind of give participants focus on what they need to do and aim what they need to focus on. Right, linking the philosophy into my practice, well, to be honest with you, I don't really have a philosophy, but if I obviously did, it'd probably make me a better coach. And obviously with my participants, if I kind of said something and said, oh, I really want to work on your guys' behaviour, then they could focus on, and then every single session we're going to focus on their behaviour and kind of improve what their behaviour is within a game or within training really. The positive and negatives of the philosophy is you can really kind of you can believe more things of like you can like strive to do something well, and you can kind of focus on one thing instead of just going into a session and just walking in and just, alright guys, let's get on with something. Before the session, you go through what you believe in and what you want your participants to achieve within the session at the end of the session. There's no really that many negatives of coaching philosophy, only because you could just really just focus on the one philosophy, and within the session you could just not focus on anything else. So if you're focusing on just behaviour and you want to work on something else, if you're just working on one thing, it's not really going to improve your participants really. Right, next slide. Leadership styles. So there are 2 leadership styles, autocratic and democratic. Got 2 pictures there to describe what they both are. Autocratic is really basically done by speaking. So using this sport as an example, kind of if I went into a coaches group, if I was coaching, I would basically just be speaking to my participants to explain the drill and using no actions, using no demonstrations, just basically me speaking to them. The democratic is me kind of asking them questions, using a few demonstrations, so then as when they see it, they go, oh, I know what to do. And then they have ideas in their head and then they can go out and do it. The advantages of having autocratic is obviously clear instructions, you're going to know what you're doing straight away, so again that's really clear. The disadvantages obviously you've just explained to them by verbally speaking, and some people are democratic learners, so again people learn by seeing things instead of you speaking to them. The advantages of democratic, again, it's like kind of the disadvantages of autocratic. You've just basically showing them what they do in the drill, and obviously they can see it, and it's just easier. Probably that's probably the better one I think out of the two. Disadvantages, I'd probably say again it takes more time to do your democratic than autocratic, because if you wanted to go through loads of demonstrations, it takes more time than speaking probably to them. Right, the impacts obviously into my coaching. I would say when I coach, I use a lot of the democratic style, because I prefer, when I'm teaching my participants, I like to really kind of zoom in on a demonstration instead of just verbally speaking to them, and they might get bored and kind of get uninterested. I like them to kind of be ready and kind of go, alright, that's what you do, and things like that, and that's what really I want to kind of build up and help with my coaching. So again, linking into my coaching practice, I'd probably say I use a bit of both, but again, like I said, I'd probably use more of a democratic style, because it's just I find it's easier, and I find demonstrations are a lot more helpful to my top participants, so they can understand the drill. And my development point really is kind of, for my autocratic style, sometimes when I'm speaking, I kind of speak very, very boring and always not in the same tone and things like that. So maybe when I'm coaching my participants, maybe kind of using different voice tones and things like that, kind of, then they will get interested and things like that, and then they'll go, alright, let's go on with it. Right, next one, communication. So I would probably say communication is one of the most important things really for an effective coach, because really if you can't really communicate properly, your coaching isn't really going to be at the best of its ability. So there's a few obviously key factors of communication. You've got body language, so how you present yourself, voice tone, so if you're not speaking the same voice all the time, and voice projection, okay? Communication within my coaching practice. So the good points really of my communication, obviously, linking back to my leadership styles, I use a lot of demonstrations. So again, when using demonstrations, they can see the actual drill, and then they can go, alright, now we know what we're doing. And that's really what I think an effective coach should be like. Also kind of, when I'm talking, I'm not really using the same voice. I'm kind of mixing my voice around, and kind of not just speaking like this, I'm kind of using different voice tones and kind of mixing it up, so they don't get bored or interested. Things that I probably need to improve on are things like my body language. So I don't really use much body language, and again, my hands are probably more to my side like this, and obviously they probably find it like, oh, what's he doing, why is his hands down there? Probably need to get your hands out more, doing more things, again, showing them, instead of with, like, if I use an example, when I've got a tennis racket, instead of just standing there and just not doing anything, explain with the tennis racket with your hand or something like that, something what they do. Impacts with the communication with the participants. So when I'm obviously communicating to them, I'm trying to use different. They kind of thrive on different voice tones and things like that. So if I'm speaking again in this horror voice, I need to kind of change it a bit and make it more fun. So again, you need to probably act a bit more childish around the kids and things like that. My development point would probably be, again, things what I need to improve my body language. So probably just need to improve my body language, just use my hands a bit more, explain things a bit more with my hands instead of just hands down the side or hands in the pockets. Right, motivation. There's different types of motivation, so there's intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. Being an effective coach, obviously you need to motivate both all your participants. Intrinsic motivation is something what's built in from within. So if I say, "Oh, well done, that's a great shot," they'll kind of be motivated to do well. And then an extrinsic motivation is kind of something what you can give them, so more of like a prize or a medal or something like this, something what they can see, really. Motivation within my coaching practice is whenever my participants aren't really feeling interested and they're not really feeling motivated, instead of kind of just saying words to them, I kind of give them a challenge or a goal to kind of like aim for. So it's like kind of, alright, I want you to get to a rally of 10 and you've got to try and do that within a certain time, instead of kind of saying, right, you've got just do whatever you want to or whatever. You've got to it's kind of giving them more of a challenge and making them focused and concentrated, and then they can be more motivated and put more effort into it. A negative would be sometimes whenever in my coaching practice, sometimes whenever I'm kind of motivated, I kind of use the same words. So kind of saying, "Oh, well done," and things like that. I kind of need to explore more kind of words and kind of link it in with the sport. So things like, "Oh, that was a good shot," or "I like that forehand cross court," or things like that. Instead of going, "Oh, well done, that's a good shot." Because I think sometimes you kind of think, "Oh, that's a bit boring, that's not really that motivated." That's again. And then with my development point, just again linking in with the negatives, really, just kind of thinking of more different sayings to do, really, and just linking it in with the sport instead of just saying, "Well done, that was a nice shot," or things like that. Just link it in with the sport, really. Right, now we're in Article 3, so I'm going to link it to young people now. Right, so behaviour. So there's different types of kind of discipline within the behaviour spectrum kind of thing. So there's positive discipline, preventive discipline and corrective discipline. So I'm going to talk about positive discipline first. Basically, positive discipline, if a child is messing around and obviously they continue messing around, you would, instead of kind of turning them off and saying, "Right, I want you to go sit out over there," you would kind of give them a goal or a challenge that they could focus on, and therefore when they focus, they've kind of got more effort and they put more effort into it, so they can obviously, therefore their behaviour could change. Then preventive discipline is kind of before the session starts, so before you start your drills, you will go through like all the rules, regs and things like that, and then what you should expect from the participants. Because if you went into a session and just said nothing at the start and said, "Right, just go and do whatever," they wouldn't really care and they could just do whatever. But before the session, if you said to them, "Right, I want you to respect this, I want you to respect that," then they would know what to do. Right, corrective discipline. So that's kind of, again, if they're messing around, you would kind of like give them a punishment or something like that. Really, it's pretty simple, that one. Again, why do they need it? Well, the positives are if they've got the different types of behaviour, then they know what they've done wrong, and then they know what they expect really from us. Negatives are some people aren't one of those disciplines. So if you're disciplining someone, they might still mess around. So you might have to use all three disciplines instead of just using the one. So like I said, if you're speaking to them and say, "Oh, I want you to give you a challenge," they might just still be bored and still mess around. So you might have to kind of mix in with the three. So that's probably a kind of a negative as well as a positive. So the impacts So when I'm coaching and when I'm coaching my own experience, there's some people who obviously do mess around, and I prefer to use the positive discipline, because then it makes them focused, it makes them actually have a challenge, and then they can be more focused, more motivated, and ready to be concentrated really. And the impacts it has on the participants, then they know what kind of discipline strategies I have really. So that's pretty much that one. Right, boundaries. So obviously within sport, young people really need boundaries, because if they don't have boundaries, again linking to behaviour, they can just mess around and they can do whatever they want and things like that. So if you set certain boundaries, they can then you can see if they're kept on track, they're not misbehaving really. So you will obviously go through the rules and the regs and the boundaries before the start of the session. The positive and negatives, positive and negatives of boundaries are if children are messing around, and obviously then you can warn them about the boundaries, and then if they're still messing around and they're still being a bit naughty and things like that, then you can obviously send them out, or then you can say to them, right, you've got one last chance, or then you're out of the session. So it's kind of giving them like a warning if they do mess around. So it's good for boundaries really. A negative is kind of at the start of the session, obviously if you're explaining all the boundaries, you're kind of wasting a bit of time. So again, some kids can get bored at the start of the session, and then you might miss times doing proper like drills and things like that. So wasting time is probably negative. Right, so young people. So we're going to kind of talk about understanding the needs now of young people. So why they want to participate in sport and what they really want to achieve really. So I've got three different things that really they expect when they participate in sport. So I've got fun, enjoyable, socialising with others, and teamwork. So I'm going to kind of talk about each one, a few examples, a few positive and negatives, and then kind of zoom in on it. Right, so fun, enjoyable. So as they expect, they should have simple activities, always on the move. So examples, kind of like fun activities, kind of like you're always on the spot, you're always on the move, non-stop. Obviously, with children, they have probably more energy levels than us adults. So again, that's good. And positive and negatives are having just positive and negatives are they're always on the move, they're always fit and healthy, and
okay, we're going to stop you just there. Very, very good. Thank you very much.